So, Brandy, I want to thank you for coming on. Brandy is a nurse practitioner. Mm-hmm. You are a mother to someone who battled with addiction, who's now 1.5 years sober, by the way. Congratulations to you and the family. Because as we know, this is a family disease.
It is.
And you offer a very interesting perspective, not only have lived it with your family, but also on the clinical side as well. So again, I want to thank you for taking the trip here. And let's go back a little bit. Maybe tell us about, your daughter and, you had her, were you married the entire time?
Well, I have an ex-husband and I was a teen mom. I got pregnant at 17, dropped out of high school, got my GED. And unfortunately, I had a lot of trauma in my life. My mom had struggled with alcoholism and my dad wasn't in my life, but I had wonderful grandparents, like bless them. And so I had always been an only child. I'd never babysat, and then I kind of picked up the pieces from my mom and her struggles. And I never didn't feel like I wasn't loved or anything like that, but you don't even realize that you're stepping up to the plate to kind of make her feel better. Just looking back now and going through my trauma therapy, I realized that. But so I had gotten involved young and dumb. Happens, I think, to all of us. And I got pregnant and we didn't get, married right away. But honestly, looking back, he was a very broken man. He had trauma, the good old generational trauma cycle, and he was very cruel. And so I dealt with significant domestic violence for 7 years, and I had my daughter. And unfortunately, that abuse really started when I was pregnant. And so when I had her, I was that walking on eggshells you talk about, and I can only imagine the impact it had on her in the womb with the anxiety I carried, the fear. And so when I had her, it's really hard because I look back and I was super excited, to have a little girl, even though I was terrified, but I did not bond with her. That I feel like that was kind of taken from me. And sometimes I look back and think, was that the start of how we got here? It's that lack of bond initially, whereas I have 3 other children. I had that bond instantly. Mm-hmm. But with her, it just, that didn't happen. And he put so much pressure on me to be this perfect mom. I didn't know what I was doing. And so I think in some ways there was resentment, in all honesty, early on towards her. And this is an innocent baby, right. But I think it was because, and I wasn't angry at her. I'm angry at him, but I was just so broken at that point. And that cycle continued. And I was, by definition, a toxic mom, not even intentionally. It was this pressure that he put on me that I had to be perfect and telling me, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm ugly, and you're never going to accomplish anything. And he would say one of the biggest things, and she was 5 when I finally got out of that. One of the things he said to me from the moment I got pregnant to till she was 5 and I got out of it, was, I'm going to make sure that she is nothing like you. I don't want her to be any. And he would say this in front of her. And so when you have that developing brain, I think it naturally caused this division between her and I, that both of us now are in a wonderful place, but looking back, it's hard. It's devastating to me. When you think about, you wish you could go back. I think so many of us have that. If I could go back and do it over, I would.
And 0 through 5, obviously, she's not remembering that, but the brain, like you said, is developing. So chemicals. It's like a subconscious it's like a subconscious, that's all she knew.
It's trauma.
Yeah.
And development. Like from that moment, the yelling, the screaming, the name calling, and it's being exposed to that. And really, she would hide herself, and she's beautiful. She's just she was a beautiful child. She's a beautiful woman. But she didn't feel that way. And I think it's because ultimately I thought, like, just moving a little forward with this, is I thought getting out of that marriage, I was going to heal, kind of like rehab, me and one and done. I thought getting out of that, I would heal. No, it was almost like I had become him in some ways, because you lived that for so long. It's hard to reacclimate to a normal life. Yeah. And my focus was get her in trauma therapy, single mom, making nothing hardly. Yeah. And, but my biggest mistake was I should have got it. I think things potentially could have been different if I had worked on me. But, naturally as a parent, you're thinking my child. The 100%. Money I have, I'm going to put in my child, not me. That's being selfish. Mm-hmm. I should have put the work in on me.
So she started going to trauma therapy.
Yeah, but where I live, if you really think about it, when did trauma therapy become super accessible? Right. It's really, I think, within the last 5, maybe a little longer years with telehealth, like you can now access trauma therapists all over the country. Yeah. Where I live, a small community, you had to drive over an hour. Well, I had 2 daughters, because I actually had 2 daughters with my ex, and it was not sustainable because he wasn't paying child support, and I'm just trying to survive. Yeah. And my mom was helping me, and there was like a play therapist that was like an hour away, but still it wasn't. I just couldn't sustain it, and that's an unfortunate thing with our health system. Also, is that everything's expensive, even with insurance.
Oh yeah,
and a lot of them don't even take insurance. You end up having to do self-pay.
Where were you guys living at this time? Hey guys, quick update. Every Monday night, I host the Rise Above Recovery meeting. It's an open meeting for any addiction, alcohol, drugs, gambling, food, whatever you're struggling with, you're welcome here. To get the meeting link and weekly updates, just email me at kevin@riseabovepod.com and I'll add you to the list. Also, if this podcast has helped you, please like, subscribe, or leave a rating. It helps us continue to spread the message of hope. Lastly, if you'd like to go even deeper with Rise Above, check out our Patreon. Supporters get access to live interviews and can chat with guests after the interview. Thank you.
As far as which time?
When you had your daughter, because you said therapy would be an hour away. Where were you living at that time?
Citrus County, Florida.
Okay, got it.
It's in Florida, but I actually had my daughter here in Florida. Mm-hmm. And then where anybody who's been with somebody who's abusive is they isolate you. So we ended up moving to Tennessee because it was in between both of our families, completely away from any support.
Wow.
And because I had convinced myself maybe if we move there, it'll stop. Because, it was always, I would get accused of things because I grew up in the town we lived in. Mm-hmm. Accused of cheating, doing all of these things, which I'm like, you can't win.
Yeah.
But my breaking point, like with the thing that made me finally leave, and this is a huge piece when we're looking at my daughter and her history, is I was laying on the dining room floor, getting kicked in the stomach, and I look across the room and I see her sitting there. She's 5 years old, coloring like it's just another day. And then we had another daughter together. She was 9 months old. She was crawling towards me, crying. And I remember thinking, I can't put this one through this. And I started my escape plan. And I got out of it. And, but like I said, I thought getting out of it was going to be enough.
Yeah.
I still have trauma.
Yeah.
And now I have a trauma therapist, that I see regularly.
Yeah.
And, but I ended up coming back to Florida. That's where all my family was.
Mhm.
And with the girls. And, my family has always been very supportive, like really the village mentality. It takes a village. That's, I would say. And my grandmother was kind of like the matriarch of the family and kept us all together. But, Brooke really struggled, kind of in school because she had such low self-esteem. Why would she not? And that she's so smart. But I look and I see I was super critical of her because I did not want her to make the same mistakes I did, right? How many parents probably can relate to that? Like, it's like I wasn't wanting perfectionism, but it's like, I went out of my way to make sure she had nice clothes. She looked nice when she went to school because I never wanted her to be picked on. I didn't want her to deal with that.
I think about that too with my daughter all the time.
And so and just the grades, I was super harsh on the grades because I had dropped out. I'm smart. I'm intelligent. But it was just, I hated school.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I've told my daughter it wasn't her. It was me. It was me trying to prove that I wasn't what my ex-husband said about me.
Wow.
What his family would say about me, that I'm better than that. And I'm going to show you. And that wasn't my intention. That my intention was her not having the pain that I experienced, but in that I caused pain.
Wow. So do you think if you and I get it, it's not a selfish mentality, like getting help for yourself when you were seeking out trauma therapy, getting it for yourself versus getting it for your daughter. Do you think a healthier you could potentially have changed the trajectory
Absolutely
of what happened down the road?
I do. And and as we get into the story, it finally showed itself
more evident
because when I finally took the step to own my shit and heal while my daughter was in active addiction, that's when things changed.
Okay. I also want to pause for 1 second for the listeners who are parents of addicts, alcoholics who are struggling, even friends, significant others. It's very important to get yourself help. It's a family disease, and it's very important to get yourself help before you can even help that other person.
Yeah, it is. Because nobody's perfect. You're never going to be the best parent. That doesn't exist. It may look like it on social media with some families. It's a lie. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
We all lose our shit sometimes. We're going to say things we regret because we're having a really crappy day. But the thing is that shouldn't be all the time, and it's reflecting and just being like, man, it's time to change for the better, because then you're carrying that pain. Like for me, when I look back on my daughter and the pain I know I caused her, and I made so many mistakes as a mom, but I really was trying my best, but it wasn't enough, and but my intentions were just always good. I just think I didn't facilitate helping her build her confidence as much as I had hoped I could have. But you can't do that when, one, you hate yourself, which I hated myself. I couldn't stand who I was. I didn't want to look in the mirror at who I was. And I was just a broken mom. And it's interesting because my daughter said to me when she really, one of the times she contacted me wanting to go into treatment, and I went and picked her up. She's like, I'll never forget that day. She said, I got in the car and I looked at you and that's what I saw. You were just a broken woman like her. And she saw me as a human. And, as parents, what do they say? You're not going to know until you have kids of your own and you get older, and now you're going to see why I was this way. I think she knew. She always knew. I always made it a point never to talk bad about her dad. That was just, even as much as he hurt me, I really went out of my way to not talk bad about him. I would be honest as they got older and they asked questions. But she finally realized and understands, and it's hard on her, the pain I went through.
Yeah.
And then she found one of my old diaries because I used to write about it, and she snuck it and read it. And I was really upset. Like it was triggering for me almost because all my vulnerabilities in there.
Yeah.
And, but I'm also glad now that she did. I think she got honest insight into my head during that time.
So your daughter through high school, did she, I'm assuming she drank, smoked pot casually.
Yeah. High school was a rough time. So she was never really a drinker. That wasn't her thing. And talking with her, the story has changed over the years. I think as we have built trust back up and she feels like she can be open and more honest.
Yeah, you're getting the actual
lowdown of what happened because I've heard so many different versions, but now I'm getting the truth. One of the things I was really shocked by, she told me was, I think she was about 14 and I've never struggled. Like, I don't like the way pain pills make me feel, none of that. And so I would hold on to my pain script, like when I had dental work done, just in case you ever needed it if something happened. I didn't care if it's expired, I held on to it. Well, I had no idea she had found it. It was like under a cabinet in my bathroom. And that was the first time she got a taste of an opioid. And she loved it.
Same happened to me.
Really?
Yep. Very young age.
Yep. And she liked the way that made her feel. She always smoked pot, without a doubt, through high school. And I was very against all substances. And just because I did it. I mean, I smoked pot. I experimented. A lot of people do. And I think parents need to understand that you can think your kid's perfect. No, so if they're going to experiment, they're stubborn, they're going to experiment. But she was really good at being sneaky. Very good. A funny story is, well, not really, I look back, it's funny, but she had gotten in trouble, I think, for her grades, and I had taken her phone away. And, but now internet, everything connects to the Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah.
And she didn't have her computer, she didn't have her phone, nothing. And I end up discovering, because I'm like, God, why is she so tired? I had no idea she had been sneaking out, because how would she be able to contact anybody? And, but she had an old, now you can get prepaid phones super cheap, but like an old iPod that worked as the phones before the actual phones. And she was connecting, making her plans, and she'd sneak out, go party all night, and then be home to get ready, catch the bus, and go to school.
Oh,
and I'm thinking, she's anemic. Do I need to take her to the doctor?
Why is she so tired?
No, she was out there, dabbling in crystal meth. And I mean, we're talking partying. She was partying.
Yeah. And this was in high school. Wow.
Yeah. But it was all really recreational then. And, when I found out, I was just, like, what what am I going to do?
Well, how did you find out that it was, more than just, for example, your traditional, and I hate to say this, and parents are listening, hate to break it to you, in high school, your kids are probably drinking and smoking pot.
Absolutely.
But when did you realize it went past that?
It actually shocked me, because that was what I was thinking it was, out all night drinking and smoking pot. And, her sister had a cheerleading competition the next morning. And I had told her, I said, hey, you're going with me and with us. And so we got to get up at like 5 a.m. I got up at 5 a.m. and she wasn't in her room. That's how I found out she wasn't at the house. And so then I'm like, did somebody come in our house and take her? I'm thinking that because she didn't have communication with anyone. And we had a dog, and dog didn't bark, nothing. And so I'm just in a panic kind of. And then I'm calling the police. And she was, I think, 15, maybe around that time. And eventually she shows back up, and I was pissed. I was super pissed. And she just tells me, and it's almost like sometimes I think about, was it for her to just be blunt like that and tell me, yeah, I used crystal meth. I didn't ask. I would never have even thought that.
Yeah.
And she told me that. And then I want to throw up.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my God, this is terrifying. What am I going to do? What are we going to do about this? And so much has happened that I can't really remember. Like, I never sought out treatment, anything like that in her youth. Mental illness, obviously struggles. Like she had, at one point, and this just goes to show that one, I think when they're young, they're not going to be ready. That's a hard piece.
Mm-hmm.
They're teens, they think they're invincible. Well, she at one point had a drug counselor, a psychologist, and a psychiatrist. And because Florida, especially up there, it wasn't here, but when we were in Coeur d'Alene, because she did live out there for a bit, our insurance was better, and I was able to get all three locally.
Wow. And
just trying to prevent, I knew it was recreational, trying to prevent where we were heading. And I still didn't think we were heading where we ended up.
Yeah.
And, but what was the question again?
So after she started seeing the 3 therapists / psychiatrists / the whole army of people, did she kind of slow down a little bit, end up graduating high school?
Yes.
Or was it continuous trouble with drugs and alcohol through high school? And then what did she end up doing after high school?
So, we were living here when we had first found out about it. And then my husband had family out west. So I was like, maybe a move will be good. Try something different, beautiful area, and fresh start. And she seemed to be doing really good. But those who struggle with substance use, they gravitate towards each other. You can put 1,000 people in a room and 2 have it, they will find each other.
Yeah, you relocate, you're still an addict or an alcoholic.
Yeah, and it's everywhere. And I don't think people, like the average person in society, really understands that it's not hard to find drugs. It's everywhere. And so she when she was out there, she ended up getting her high school diploma. They had kind of a bridge program. She went to high school briefly. She was doing okay, but she ended up, our relationship, like I said, it's so multifactorial because we were so toxic that we really couldn't live in the same house together. But she's a minor. I love her.
She has to.
But my poor husband and my kids, my other kids, bless them, because it was like World War III with her and I. And because I think in a lot of ways, her and I are very similar. We're both just traumatized, and we grew up together kind of. And so we just.
It's almost like a sibling.
Yeah, I would say so. But I was the more dominant sibling. And she just couldn't see. I just wanted her to be happy. That was really always my goal, happiness.
Right.
And thriving and not on my terms, but when you're trying to learn to parent, it's my first on top of it. So you're really learning how to handle it. It was definitely a learning process. And she had ended up going back to Florida. I let her go back and live with my mom. And because I'm like, if she can be happy, then that's fine. Because I think it was maybe her senior year going to, and she had known people down there, but my mom is, I hate the word enabling. I hate it now. I didn't in the beginning, but I hate it now. But I would say, if there's an enabler, my mom is, just with endless love and acceptance. And then, her older eyes, she just was kind of blind, or did she just, a little oblivious to it. And so my daughter had unfortunately gotten involved in another like toxic, she got involved in a toxic relationship very similar to the one that I had with her dad. And she had gotten pregnant with my grandson. But at the time, I remember thinking, because all she wanted was to be loved. I think she thought I didn't love her. Or maybe it was she knew I loved her, that I didn't like her. And I don't know which is more painful, if your mom doesn't like you, if you think that. And, but when she got pregnant, I, of course, was like, oh my God, this is horrible. But like I said, it was recreational at that point. It wasn't full-blown addiction. And I was like, well, maybe this will kind of turn her life around. But then I'm getting triggered because here we go. She was 18 when she got pregnant.
Roughly the same age
as me. And in a toxic relationship. And I'm seeing this cycle start. And that was very scary for me. And, trying to reason with her and be like, don't take the same path. But she's like, wanting to give me the middle finger. And because, she hated me at that time, which was valid. Like it really was. And she had every right to. And, but she was sober throughout her whole pregnancy. She was thrilled. Like she was the healthiest I had seen her, and happy because she was so excited about having a son, and I was able to be there for the birth, and it was hard on her, I think, going through that with us living across the country. Now she doesn't have my support, but I was trying to fly down every 3 months. And she seemed to be doing good. I mean, I knew the relationship wasn't healthy, but I also know you can't make somebody leave something until they decide they're done. They have to figure that out. And he was born in March. On my visit in October, I noticed she was very irritable and moody and kind of coming at me where she hadn't. And I was like, what is this about? And I ended up leaving early. I'm not dealing with this. I didn't come down here. I came down to spend time with you and my grandson. And I had my mom take me. I just went and stayed on the beach before I caught my flight. And then right after Christmas of 2019, I thought she was having a mental breakdown because I was worried, is this like postpartum depression? What's going on? I found out she was using IV fentanyl.
Okay.
And I guess the toxic partner had been. I didn't know that. And he was very charming. I mean, I saw through the bullshit, but he's very good and at being manipulative. And a lot of people, it's easy to like him. But I think probably because of my trauma, I read people very well. And I did not have a good feeling at all. And so she looks back and thinks that she probably did go through depression because she had been on antidepressants before she got pregnant, but she didn't want to take them and risk harming the baby.
Of course.
And then and then why get on them? I've been fine through my pregnancy. Why would I get on them now? And because I kept telling her, I'm like, you may need to consider going back on them because I had dealt with postpartum depression for one of my pregnancies. And I'm like, because your hormones are going to shift.
Yeah. And
I think she just wanted to make herself believe that she was normal and wouldn't need anything like that. But she thinks that she knows she went through a really bad depression and weakness, and him basically trying to convince her to do it.
And then
that was it.
Yeah, that was it. So December of 2019, her son's roughly, call it 9 months, 10 months or so.
Yeah, yes, because I got him on his first birthday in March.
Okay. And so what led you to get the grandson?
Oh, so my mom was the one who called and told me. She's like, she's going to be mad, but I have to tell you. And I'm like, what? Are you serious? And So immediately I'm in fix mode. One, I'm a nurse at that time. I've done ICU and ER for, 10 years. And I'm like, I got to fix this. So I immediately come out with a plan of, okay, we're going to get Miles, like not thinking long-term. Let us take Miles for 3 months. You go to treatment and then you can get him back. Like I wasn't trying to get custody, anything like that. All she heard in that is, you want to take my kid away, because of our dynamic.
Right.
You think I'm going to fail at everything. And then I'm going to fail as a mom. You're hoping for that. You just want to take my kid. And it's like, no, this is the last thing I wanted, but yeah, I couldn't reason with her in active use. And then just all the pain she had, and so I got cussed out and called every name in the book when I brought it up and hung up on, and then I think called back and cussed out again. And, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm talking to my now husband, who I've been with for 17 years this month. And I'm like, what do we do? Because I want to ensure his safety. And we're across the country. And I had talked to my mom and then his other grandparents. And not really my mom. My mom just kind of goes with the flow. The other grandparents really upset me when on the phone because they were making it about their son, not about their grandson, who was innocent in this.
Mm-hmm.
That pissed me off.
Yeah.
And I gave the phone to my husband. I said, you fucking deal with them because I'm not.
Yeah.
And because he was my priority. I love my daughter. But interestingly enough, when my daughter was pregnant and she had come out to Idaho for a couple of months, I can't tell you why I brought this up. I actually asked her, I said, Brooke, if you ever fell into addiction, having Miles, what would you want me to do? Would you want me to call DCF? And she said yes. She actually, and I can't tell you what made me ask that question. Because it wasn't like she was an IV user or a regular user.
Yeah,
Clear-headed. But she told me yes. And I am so glad I asked that question then, because that gave me, because that's a really hard decision to be put in as a parent, because I'm like, God, she hates me now. She's really going to hate me. And I notified DCF in Florida.
Was this like a tough love tactic almost, kind of?
No, it was, because I wasn't, I did tell her I would contact. Like was upfront. I wasn't trying to go behind her back and be like, no, I would never do that. No, I told her I would do it.
Yep.
I'm like, if you can't let us take him so we can ensure that he's okay while you get help, I said, I'm going to have no choice but to call DCF. If I had been in Florida, I think it would have been different. I wouldn't have gone that route, but I felt like I couldn't trust anybody to ensure he came first. And so I did. I submitted an online form actually, and rather than call, they had that, and they did get involved, and she was really trying to comply because they didn't take him away. Like he was staying with my mom, and because at that point, Brooke had moved in with my mom, and my mom didn't think she was still using, but then it was. So that all unfolded because it was the end of December when I found out. Go fast forward to like the beginning of January. She's not even talking to me. I'm kind of upset at my mom, not even really wanting to talk to her, just because I felt like were people keeping this from me?
Yeah.
And so it was, I think it was in March. It was in March that I was at work, and my stepdad has never called me. He was calling me early in the morning, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm thinking, did she overdose and die? And I can't leave a case. I have a patient on a table. So I'm literally I'm just in shock and waiting like another 30 minutes before I can call him back. And She hadn't overdosed to the point that she needed Narcan, but she did, in fact, he had left a message that says, we need your help. We can't do this, because he had to break down a door. She was unconscious. And
was the grandson in there?
No, like they really, like she was there, but they really kind of took care of him.
Yeah.
But he had been in the house, and it really freaked my stepdad out. And so I immediately went on my phone, booked a flight, hopped on a plane within 2 hours, and flew across the country, not knowing what I was going to do or say, because I'm like, she hates me.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my mom, I said, do not tell her I'm coming. I'm like, I think she'll take off. Just don't say anything. My flight gets in late and I'll get a room. Mm-hmm. And I did that. And then the next morning, I go walking into my mom's, and she's like, what the hell is Brandy doing here? It's not Mom, it's Brandy at this point. And so, which is harsh, but then I look at her and I'm like, look at my mom, I'm like, how do you not see this? Like, I can see the track marks.
Yeah.
But I work in healthcare. So I work with that population.
Mm-hmm.
And so assessment is part of my skill set. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is bad. And I don't know how, but I ended up, somehow that day, I convinced her to hop on a plane with my grandson and fly. When she agreed, once again, I was on my phone booking an immediate flight back that day, because I knew it wouldn't last.
That little window of opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yep. To get her out of that area.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I remember, of course, I was in the mode of begging and pleading, but trying to talk reasonable to her was, I remember I ended up getting a picture of Miles, and I held it up to her face. And I said, this is what matters. And I'm like, do you want to continue to do this? Or do you want to get better for him? And I really think that might have been that moment where she's like, because she was just kind of like, fine, I'll go.
Fuck, I'll go.
Yep. And I was just like holding on when we finally got on the plane, thinking, let's just take off.
Just shut the door and go.
Because she is going to run off of here as fast as she can, Yeah. And so I got her out there, and I was able to get her in a treatment center. And it's, I was like, this is it. She's going to go to treatment. All is going to be well in the world. And no.
You thought she was going to be cured. You thought one time go to treatment and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I knew how bad, like not even just the alcoholism. Like, I know my mom, she would get sober and she would like relapse. But I knew drugs were bad, but I guess I didn't realize how addictive like the fentanyl was, because, I worked in it, but I wasn't actively following people in recovery. I wasn't actively listening to people's stories. And I think that's most of society.
Yeah.
You don't realize it until you live it. Mm-hmm. And so it was, I did. I thought, well, she just needs to be away from the ex. That like the dad, I'm like, she just needs to be away from him, go to treatment, detox, she's going to be fine. And she did try. Like, she had completed the 30 days, but at that time also very against medicated assisted treatment. I was, because all I would see in the ER setting were people who abused it.
Suboxone, methadone. Yep.
That was my mindset. I'm like, no, you don't even get on that, because you're just going to be trading one drug for another. Mm-hmm. And because that was always, I never got to hear the stories of people who got their life back, because it's always the sick ones, and you find out that I'm seeing.
Yep.
So it creates this negative view, which, kind of, I think is why there's so much healthcare stigma.
Right.
Because I was one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
I have always had empathy, but it's a difficult population to care for. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to downplay that. And I talk about that on my social media. I'm just like, you guys aren't easy. but I look now and I think I recognize the reasons why. But
well, we're robbing you, we're stealing from you, we're doing all the the loved ones around us, everything. We're taking it,
but when it comes to just like the healthcare stigma from nurses and physicians in the acute care setting in the hospital, I think they go in because they're so stigmatized in society. They're not looked at as humans. Like we treat them like, you have this view of these, the people on the streets that they're unworthy, kind of, they're beneath you.
Yep.
That would never happen to your family, but addiction doesn't discriminate. And
no, it doesn't.
It touches all lives.
Right.
And no one is safe. And so I think when you're treated that way and you're already in this cycle of shame and being treated like garbage, you're already like on the offense, the defense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The defense. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're going to come in with these walls and be like, F you. And because they're going to give you attitude to begin with. And you don't recognize because you're not in the right
You feel
mind.
less than. You automatically feel less than. And to say you're an addict or an alcoholic or to admit that you have a problem with something, it's icky.
It is.
Because of the stigma. But I also think we've come a long way as a society.
Oh, as far as how we're addressing it now?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah. No, I think so. A lot more education and with harm reduction and like what we have, but it's a lot. It is a lot caring for them. And then nursing and healthcare in general is burnout.
Yeah.
So
she goes to her first treatment center. She gets out.
So she gets out and they were transitioning her to PHP.
PHP, yeah.
Yeah. And so it was finding her a sober home. And this is all new to me, going into this. And of course, she doesn't work. She doesn't make money. We were paying for it. And this is all during COVID. Like where you're having to get tested. No family can come and visit. Like worst time ever.
Yep.
Okay. For her to kind of this happen and her have to go through cycle in and out of treatment centers. And she goes in, she does it. And I end up finding a sober home. And, it was, now I know she lied about things because like I said, these conversations we have now, I'm like, can you just tell me what really happened during that? Because she ended up getting kicked out of that sober home, but she did nothing wrong. That was, of course, the view.
That's what she told you, yeah.
Yeah, and me being mom, it was like, why are you kicking my daughter out?
Right, you come to her defense.
Naturally. But I'm also, I'm not oblivious.
Yeah.
Like, I know how my daughter can be, how she could be then, it's like, well, but you work with this population. This can't be new, kind of.
Right.
Like, what was the reason?
What did she end up doing?
Yeah. I think she maybe had brought drugs in the home, was using them in the bathroom.
Oh, nice.
I think she had kind of said. But she also, I'm sure, had a really piss poor attitude about it too.
Yeah, of course.
And so.
Well, if she's listening, I've done stuff like that too. So I can relate.
Yeah.
We do stuff like that, unfortunately.
And so I ended up, I got a plane because she was down in Boise and I flew her back up where we were and got her. And she got a job. Like she was working at a grocery store.
It's a sober job to build back to life. Yeah, that's great.
Like she seemed to be doing really good, getting reacclimated to being around her son. And at the time she had her license still. And so we had another small, older car and she could get back and forth. And she seemed to be doing really good until she wasn't. And I remember just thinking, like now I know, go with my gut. My gut doesn't go wrong because I'll be like, did she relapse? Now I know that I was right every time.
Yeah.
But I had noticed her face was really breaking out. And she had been on some medications and I'm looking up trying to see if that's a side effect, because she was self-conscious about it. No, she had actually relapsed during that time. And that's probably why she was breaking out.
Yeah.
But how I found out and what led to my first real post on TikTok was she wrecked our car. She was supposed to be at work and she didn't show up. And then I got a call from a cop because she not only wrecked it, she was driving reckless, wrecked it, and then took off as soon as they called me. She wasn't going to deal with mom. And sure enough, in Scrubs, I think she had used my YouTube app because it was linked so I could see where she was. And she wasn't there still. You better believe I was knocking on doors. I didn't care. I didn't care if it was a trap house.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm like, where the it's my daughter, you know? It's like, where is she? And you know, I think they've probably seen many moms with their crazy eyes.
Of course.
In those environments. And none of them were rude. You know, none of the people I interacted with that were also struggling were rude. But I ended up, I think it was the day after that, I was just in shock because she would not answer my calls. I didn't find her. And I'm like, what happened? How did this go wrong? Like, that's when I realized, oh, wow, this is going to be a long road. And so I make this, I just get my phone and I just start talking in it like a diary almost. And what I said is, and got quite a bit of views for then was...
you started documenting this on social media.
Yeah, like just sharing. I was literally like, you can just tell in my tone, like, my daughter relapsed. She wrecked our car and took off. And I end it with, addicts, you're killing us. You're killing your children. Like stop. Like, you know, and just because we're hurting, we're devastated by this. And it, you know, there were a lot of people who I think they understood the pain I was feeling right then.
They could relate. They
could relate, families. And, but then also you have the people who are very offended by me saying that, you know, and I didn't care. I didn't. But what that moment did for me, I never got on social media. To be famous was not one of the goal.
Of course.
I just wanted to vent, and I didn't really have anybody. You know, when you are dealing with this and addiction, a lot of your old friends, they don't stay your friends because you change, because they don't understand your pain.
Yeah.
And it's isolating.
So I just want to say one thing. I think that, you know, social media, we talk bad about social media a lot. And I agree with most of it. But social media, this podcast wouldn't be what it is without social media. Some of the posts, like I've shared my experience with opiates, the time I did fentanyl, the time I detoxed from opiates. I've shared all of these things and I've documented them. The community that comes out of the woodworks on TikTok, on Instagram, and the support you can get from social media is truly a beautiful thing. I've had so many people reach out, and listen, you get your negative comments here and there, you get your haters, whatever, it is what it is. But like the one, and there are a few good things, but the one of very few good things from social media is those communities. Someone who is struggling, people found my podcast and was like, dude, I was at rock bottom 32 days ago. I saw one clip, then I went over to YouTube, I watched the full interview, and it prompted me to go to a meeting, a self-help meeting, and now I'm 32 days sober. That's the power of social media, because also too, you now are connecting with all of these other parents who have been through exactly what you're currently going through, and maybe their child is sober. Maybe they lost their child, but you can come together because you share those common feelings and you understand one another. So go ahead. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
No. But that it was a huge piece. That is why I am still on social media today. It is what I found from that first video was community. Yep. Because COVID was happening. You know, you have to, and so nobody,
that's right.
There was no in-person things going on. And so, I mean, I had gone to Al-Anon with my mom's alcoholism when I was, and I just, it just wasn't for me, and it's not for everyone.
Mhm.
But it doesn't mean I'm against it. But I didn't need Al-Anon. I got the most help that I've ever gotten in my life from connecting with people in recovery, active use, and families. Like my book is actually dedicated to them. It is because they made me the mom my daughter needed. And I am a better person today because of them.
So you had said in the beginning, she's a year and a half sober. What are we in 2025?
Yeah.
So let's call it end of 2023, beginning of 2024 when she gets sober. So this is the beginning of COVID. Can you just give us a quick rundown of
everything?
What happened from 2020 after the car incident all the way up until eventually when she ultimately gets clean and sober?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's just this endless cycle, right? So she goes to treatment, she leaves maybe a few days into detox, and she's back out. Or she goes to treatment, and then I would send her to treatment centers in different states, like trying, well, maybe there's a better option here.
Geo,
yeah. And every time, we'd spend all this money, luckily she's on my insurance, but we still had to pay all this money. Within 30 days of getting out of every treatment center, she would relapse 9 times in treatment in 4 years. Okay. And so because my views on medicated assisted treatment were, I was against it because of social media. I had so many saying when I would talk about the relapses, I mean, I shared everything in like real time while protecting her privacy.
Mm-hmm.
It was just how I was feeling and trying to learn. And they would say, Brandy, you need to get her on like Suboxone and just see, because she just keeps relapsing and the fentanyl's so strong. And I finally started because people would share their stories of success and how they got their life back. And I was finally, my daughter, she always trusted me with that. And so I started kind of talking to her about it, that maybe it was her decision. I said, but maybe you want to consider it because abstinence clearly is not working. And she did. And so she ended up getting on Suboxone, and she seemed to do really well on it. The more you know, though. So it kind of, I didn't know much about that, right? She's going to the professional. She's in a treatment center that uses it. But I didn't want it even just used at that point for detox. It's like, let's keep her on it for a while. Let's see if she can heal some. And she ended up, it helped, but she ended up relapsing ultimately. She stayed in treatment. She ended up doing she transitioned to a different sober home that had like integrated kind of IOP stuff, trauma-based, but it was so expensive. And we depleted our retirement, of course, paying for that. But I would say that was the longest amount of sobriety she had, but it was all in a controlled environment.
Right.
As soon as she would get out, as soon as she did,
boom,
she relapsed.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I think she had 4 months sober with MAT. And then the end of 2022, because she had gone through multiple places, she let's see, what was it? My account had grown pretty large. And at the time, looking for recommendations of treatment facilities, I'm not even realizing, I didn't even know what body brokering was. Right. And here I am, a mom with a pretty large following as a mom who's talking about addiction. And boy, do rehabs and places, why would they not want to bring on a mom like that who can bring business their way? And so I had pages of offers of free treatment. And then I started kind of hearing about body brokering. And so then I'm terrified, but I'm thinking this is all like Florida, the Florida shuffle.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I'm sending her out of state, because we had moved back to Florida at this point. We had actually We were back in Florida.
So out of state, out of Florida.
Yep. And so I'm terrified, and I end up like reaching out to an interventionist that was on TikTok who I'd been watching, and I liked how he talked and seemed to support families. And it wasn't, I never hired him. And I just said, hey, I have this list. Can you tell me if any of these are like, okay, even though they were out of state, like, are they, because you just can't tell. You can't tell on a website, Google reviews, because they'll have people, they're fake reviews.
Yeah.
And that's something we'll need to talk about, like, I think further into it, because it's concerning for me when it comes to families and just what we went through.
Yep.
And he didn't say anything about that, but he was like, well, actually, I know of a couple of places. I might be able to get you like I guess like a charity bed or whatnot, or a scholarship bed.
Scholarship.
That's
alumni
what it was.
Donate money back. Yep.
Yep. And so a scholarship bed. And I said, oh, I'd really appreciate that. And because I felt like I could trust this person based off of watching it and some interactions. And so I said, our number one criteria is she wants to be somewhere that will let her be on medicated assisted treatment at that point. And that was our number one thing that she wanted, and I agreed with. And so the quick rundown is this place is very well known, and like ASAM or no, SAMHSA, like as far as if you are all the things, warning signs when it comes to treatment, this place has, all the green lights. Like it's safe, right? It's the things you look for, it's trauma-based. It was going to be like a year program. And, but it was in Baltimore, Maryland. Well, and so I was really nervous about having her go up there, but I'm like, I thought I did good enough research, and she got accepted, and she went, and she was there for several months. She already had 2 months sober, because I had gotten her when she decided to get sober. She was in detox in Florida, and then she had actually transitioned to another place for a month.
Got it.
And so she had like 2 months sober, and then, but my thing was, you got to go to long term. Like clearly short term isn't working. We need a long term program. And because I'm still believing the program is what is going to fix her.
Right.
That they're the professionals. That's how I'm thinking. And then there were a lot of lies that took place. Like, we were told a blackout period, which I'm not against a blackout period. We were told 30 days, 45 days max. She wasn't happy about it, but upfront about it. And I said, it'll fly by, it's okay. And then you'll get it back. They just kept extending it. Like, and I couldn't even talk to her. And we were in a good place at this point. And then I'm finding out, oh, well, we're taking her off of Suboxone. And I still can't talk to her because I knew that was not what she wanted.
Yep.
And I'm like, can I talk to her? I wasn't allowed to write her. Like, there are all these things like these, and I'm in Florida and I'm sick. I'm like, I'm not understanding. She already had 2 months sober. It wasn't like she was going detox.
Right.
And she really was trying. And then I'm cut off. And she would get a call with her son to FaceTime like once a week. And it was the weirdest thing. You would FaceTime, and it was a strict rule. We were not allowed to talk to her. And one time I did, because she got sent a pair of winter boots, and I found out they wouldn't let her have them. We were from Florida. We didn't have winter stuff.
Right, of course.
And I'm like, what do you mean she can't have a pair of boots? But that's not what their program is. They have to ask people for stuff. And so I just said, I was like, hey, do you have a jacket and boots? I want to make sure she was warm enough. And you could just see like she's staring at somebody. And like they're standing there watching her FaceTime her son. And as soon as, because she got annoyed because I said, the boots, I was told they refused to give them to you. And she didn't know boots were sent to her. And then they cut the call. And then she wasn't allowed to talk to her son. We weren't allowed to have another FaceTime for like a couple of weeks. But it was you could tell they stand there and watch. And this was overnight. Like we're at, I think 60 days at this point of her in that program. And I'm like, something just feels off to me. And every time I would talk to the therapist, they would be like, she needs to surrender. She's at risk of leaving. Every time, every week, I would have to have a call with the therapist. I had less anxiety when she was on the street than I did talking to that therapist. I'm like, aren't I supposed to be able to be sleeping at night and like feel like relaxed?
Of course.
And I had none of that feeling.
Did you end up going out there?
Oh, I did, but not right away because I couldn't afford to go out at that point. And then I couldn't talk to her. And so she ended up leaving. We finally were going to get a call together. It was in January of 23. We were finally going to get a call. And then that day they called me and she took off. And then I as things went on, more or less, I later learned they refused to give her her phone. She's states away. She doesn't know anybody. And I'm like, I know my daughter, I'm not going to be the first person she contacts. It's going to be, like the guy she had been seeing. I know this. And I had communicated. I was like, hey, because I reached out to him and I said, hey, she left.
Yeah.
And I'm really worried about her. I said, my guess is she'll reach out to you. Please contact me if she does. And, when as a mom, I think a lot of parents can relate to this, is when they're out there in active addiction, Facebook Messenger, looking for that little green light, or it says they were active in the last 24 hours and stuff to see if they're alive. That is a very real thing families do and you obsess over when they won't talk to you and you can't get in touch with them, was have they been active. And so that was the first thing I did because she wasn't allowed on social media. She had no communication with anyone. I'm like, first thing she'll do is log into her social media. 3 days, nothing. And I'm like, she's dead. And I'm calling this facility. And I'm like, why wasn't she given her phone so she could communicate? But, it's always the same thing. It's like, well, we don't want to make it easier for them to use drugs. You're in Baltimore.
Right. It's not that hard.
Park Heights is right around the corner.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
No. And so I ended up filing a police report. And then I'm flying out there. And I'm still like, the interventionist who was contacting me, so the whole experience opened my eyes to so much, is it's not about my daughter missing. Like I understand my daughter is struggling. She struggles with addiction, but I'm scared as a mom because I don't want my baby to die.
Yeah.
And I want to know she's safe. If it meant I fly up, get her and take her back to the streets where we live, you know what I mean? I want her to be closer to home than states away. And it was about image. It was all about image because I started sharing that she was missing on my social media. And I started saying the name of the rehab because I wouldn't even say what part of the country she went into. And because I talked to one of the owners and I said, I'd like to see your leaving against medical advice discharge, protocol. And they refused to send it to me because hospitals can't keep belongings. That does not happen. If somebody who, overdoses, they get their belongings when they leave. No questions asked. And so my thing is, you knew she was states away. Why would you not give her her phone at least? And I just wouldn't get they were getting calls. Like people were it was
Did the post go viral? It went viral. Oh my God.
And it went, I just wanted to find her. And because I can tell you my crazy ass, I had a flight planned at that point.
You are wild.
I was going to go to Park Heights, man.
You're a mom.
I'm a mom. And I will tell you, I want to say this. So that post, it made its way to Baltimore. Wow. And there were people from Park Heights begging me or saying, Mama, meet us. You can't go down there alone. We'll go with you.
Oh my God. People from Baltimore that were willing to take you. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I got goosebumps just now because I'm like, that kind of love it's just this mom that nobody knows, but they know that pain.
Yep.
That it's all universal, that pain, that love. And I was just blown away. And so I'm trying to coordinate, like, getting up there. What am I going to do? What is the odds that I'll even find her? And I had already booked my flight, and the cops, she's all over the news, all like it's, and I definitely said, if you do not help me, I will talk about it on my social media, because there's all this stigma surrounding, a girl who is, an addict, and it's just another addict. And it's like, no, that's my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
That's who she is. Her name is Brooke. She's my daughter. And they did, and they posted it, and the outpouring of support and love, people offering to go help search. Yeah. Like, it was pretty amazing. She ended up, though, she logged on to social media and contacted the guy, and he contacted me. It was like 4 a.m. And I got on Messenger right away, because she was still green, because she had to use someone's phone.
Yeah.
And she told me she believed that they made her believe I wouldn't come get her. That's why she didn't contact me.
Can I ask you a question? And you feel free not to answer this. Have you filed some legal with this?
I have tried to find an attorney. It gets worse.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, it gets way worse, like the interventionist, all of it, because that's when my eyes were open. I like contact, I think, like Maryland Board of Health, like all of these things. I've contact any entity I could, I tried to. And then, but you're dealing with 2 states, because I'm in Florida, and I had people saying, you need an attorney in Florida. And I'm like, well, do I need an attorney in Maryland? Nobody would really talk to me about it, because I wanted to, especially as things went on. And then there are people who are allowed to have phones in that facility. My daughter's roommate she contacted me on Instagram when Brooke was missing. And and I knew it was true, because she knew things that I had never talked about. And she said, she's like, I was her roommate, and they made her get off her Suboxone, like cold turkey. And
that detox is hell.
It is. And so here she is. There's no taper. She didn't want to be off of it. And she's been made to believe that I won't be there for her if she leaves. And we can't even communicate.
Is this place still in business?
Oh, yeah. It's a big place.
Well, I guess we got to go to your social media to find out the name of it.
Yeah. Or I'll tell you afterwards. And, what's interesting, though, is I've openly talked about it, is I've said, go ahead, come after me, sue me, because discovery is going to be interesting. I've been egging them on for years, both of them.
You've been prepping.
And why would they not? I mean, it's all over. And I've made sure anytime you search those places, a video of me shows up. Yeah.
Some good SEO.
If I can't get them taken care of in other ways, like ethically, and like the right people address this, then I'm going to make sure other families, if they search a review of that place, that I'm going to pop up.
Yeah. So can you take us to when she ultimately gets sober?
Yeah. So she, when I ended up going to Baltimore, and I got her, and she came home. She admitted to me that she, of course, had been using, and which I wasn't shocked by that. And I'm like, it's fine. I just come home, and so my image of rehab was kind of stained at that point. And I'm like, I don't even know if she ever wanted recovery again. Like, I don't even know where I'd send her. And she came home. She tried. She was on MAT, but she relapsed and went back out within a month.
Yep.
Within a month. And that broke me. Because now a system I thought I could trust, I felt like I didn't even have that. Like, what do I do with her? Like, now here we are. She's back in the cycle. what happens when she wants to get sober? So now I don't even trust the system. She doesn't. And I think I finally just recognized that I couldn't save her. And I ended up shaving my head. I did.
You pulled a Britney Spears.
I did. And it's so weird. Like, and it's all videoed. Like I shared it because when I say I documented.
Wait a minute. We can laugh because your daughter's sober now and everything. But you went full Britney on them.
I did. I had gotten off work one night.
Why did you shave your,
No, I think I look back and that I was drowning. I was drowning and I wanted to disappear. I remember like not die, disappear. That's the way to describe it. I had taken on so much and I didn't think I was trying to save her, but I was. You're in this mode as a mom. And I had been working. I hadn't even thought about it. It wasn't like I was thinking, oh, I'm going to shave my head. No, I literally got off work. I came home. I worked a night shift. And I always say it's kind of weird. Like I'm not religious, but I always wanted to be in touch with God. And I look back and I'm like, God talked to me that day. I really believe that.
Shave your head.
No.
He told you.
It was I've never had those uncontrollable thoughts. It was uncontrollable.
What did your husband say?
I called him before I did it. And I said, hey, I think I'm going to shave my head. He's like, people are going to think you have cancer, right? And I said, probably.
Yeah.
and I said, he goes, well, you're going to do what you want. My husband is.
Oh,
I think he knew I was on my breaking point.
He's a smart man. Mm-hmm. He didn't get in your way. He knows what he's dealing with.
He didn't. And he wasn't shocked when he came home and it was shaved. And I mean, it was shaved. And it was the best thing I ever did. All that trauma, all that pain. And like, I just took scissors and cut, my hair was long and cut it off. And as I got with the guards shorter and shorter, it was so healing. I wept. And it was like, I cried away all that pain. And it was such a relief and so healing for me that I was smiling by the end of it. And I don't think I had smiled in a long time. It was like my soul was smiling. And like I said, I'm not a religious person. And then I walked outside and I felt the wind on my head and I cried again. Like it was just, and so that's why I said I call it my Britney Spears moment.
So you shaving your head ultimately gets your daughter sober.
It started my healing.
Oh,
that's the piece. So, I was always sorry. Said I was sorry to my daughter for the mistakes I had made.
Yep.
And I meant it, but she didn't believe it for whatever reason. And I think it's because I had not really put in the work. And I just ended up, at that point, I had kind of stopped talking to her. Like I had to take a step back and breathe. And I had actually blocked her on Facebook. If she needed to get in touch with me, she had other people in the family she could.
Yeah, of course.
But me, I had to learn to live, even with my daughter in active addiction. And so I had done that to start healing. I had found a therapist and I had started working on me and just started getting out there and trying to find just the beauty in the world and life. And so, and then I saw a video. I don't know if you're familiar with who Savage Sisters. They work in the Kensington area. Sarah Laurel, she had posted this video talking about how her mom would pick her up and take her to Applebee's when she was in active addiction, just to spend time with her. And she said what she did was she brought out the humanity in me when I couldn't love myself. And I cried. And I'm one, I would not show emotion. I cry all the time now. And I cried and I messaged her and I was like, you have no idea what that video did for me.
So you then start doing this with your daughter.
I did.
And you started showing her genuine love at this point.
I stopped talking about rehab, never brought it up.
Wow.
Every conversation as a mom, it's about rehab.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah. It's about rehab. You got to get sober. Your son needs you. It's all this, right? And that's because you're so desperate to save them. But it's, you can't. You can't, it's their journey. And that's where it's like, sometimes it's hard to reflect on the old me because the new me is so much better. And at that point I'd reached out to Brooke, and I, with a text just saying, I literally said this. I said, I love you. I miss you. I hope you have Narcan and are being safe. The old Brandy, it would be a long text.
Where are you? I'm coming to get you. We're going to rehab.
You need to go home. Yeah, all this. And so I had just realized, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do what I can live with. That's just kind of what I said. I'm like, I have lost trust of this industry, of what she's been in treatment 9 times and she relapses within 30 days. Something is not working. Something is missing from this. And then as I continued to learn about how broken the system is, not all, there are no good places out there, but there are a lot of really bad, corrupt treatment facilities. And professionals, as I started to see that, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wing this shit. That's literally it. I was just winging it. And I was like, I'm going to meet her where she is. I'm going to see how she does. I had boundaries. She still could not move into my home. That was one clear boundary because I had to protect the other kids. And, but I ended up, I was like, can I get you and us have dinner? And I did. We went out to dinner with her in active addiction.
Was
Never
she
done
blown
that
away?
before. Yeah, she was shocked. I think that started her seeing that me change for the better and not bringing up. I had to learn how to make small talk with my daughter again. I was literally on like Pinterest. Small talk conversations, because you get so consumed with your addiction.
Of course.
That you forget to look at it's your child. It's the person you love. That you forget who they are.
Yep.
And that has to be painful for them. And so I was like, I don't even know how to talk to her anymore. And so I was really nervous, and I had dinner with her, and it went really well. And, and she continued to use, but she started calling me, and my daughter never stole from me. Like, she didn't. She was just not one of those people. I think she knew my boundaries were so strict. Don't even try.
I was one of those people.
That you would steal? Or?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I stole from everyone.
Yep.
But anyways, sorry.
No, and don't get me wrong. She would steal from other people, but she did not steal from us. I had also told her, you steal from me, I'll call the cops on you. Yeah. And that was just kind of a hard line. And I think she figured I was crazy enough that to do it. And so I did that, and we started talking. And she'd want to talk to me 30 to 45 minutes, not ask for anything, just connection. And then another weird moment, like kind of like shaving my head. I never allowed my daughter to come home to holidays. Kind of what you were talking about with your situation. Like, if you were in active use, unless you could pass a drug test, you could not come to the house. And so here we are, 4 years. I never had a holiday with my daughter, really. And I looked, and I was like, when I came up with, I was like, I'm just going to do what I can live with. It's like, the idea was, if I get a call tomorrow that I lost her, what am I going to regret? And that's what guided me forward, is what can I live with? Yeah. And so I realized, I was like, I'm going to regret missing out on memories. I'm going to regret that I didn't allow her son to see her in active use. And he missed out. What if she dies? My grandson will have no memories hardly of his mom. Yeah. And I'm like, as long as they're safe, I'm going to try this and see what works. Yeah, you guys are there in a controlled environment, right? And supervised, like, and of course. And so the first step, I didn't push any of her siblings, because they were mad, they were hurt, they loved their sister, but they were tired of this, because they didn't just lose her, they lost their mom. I was there, but not. You're checked out. And I got this overwhelming feeling driving to work one morning. Just started crying. I had to invite my daughter to Thanksgiving in active addiction. I had to. That was never an option before. But I said, everybody has to be agreeable. kids, the older kids, everything.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was on board. Everyone agreed to do it. I think because they trusted me. When I would try something new, they knew that their safety was always my priority. And so when they saw the shift in me, they're like, let's trust mom.
Yep.
Let's see what she's thinking. And we were all scared. My husband was nervous about it. And I was like, is she going to show? And because I was worried, we didn't tell her son. Because he was 4, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to tell him because if she doesn't show, he'll be devastated.
Yeah, of course.
And so she did. She showed up and she's crying. She's crying in active use, telling me she's scared I wasn't going to show. And that just broke my heart because she couldn't believe that I had invited her to Thanksgiving. And when you think of it as from any other standpoint, mental illness, anything, when do we treat these people like that? And no, safety is always a priority. If somebody is abusive, violent, no, you have to have strict boundaries. But otherwise, I think a big piece that's missing is reminding them of who they were and that they're really loved. And I had also family pictures. I hadn't had family pictures in years. I finally got them without her. And that was so hard because she wouldn't stay sober long enough to get them. We celebrate our Thanksgiving a few days before because I work at a hospital. So I had to work Thanksgiving. I hired a photographer. She was agreed. In active use. I never would have done that before. We had the family pictures done. It was the easiest family pictures we've ever done. And there was just no pressure. I was there in that moment with my family whole, with a daughter who's just struggling and broken. And I saw her. I really saw her for who she was. Not an addict, but my daughter, who was hurting like I had hurt. My coping, though, is just different. It's unhealthy. I'm a workaholic. That's not healthy either. And I ended up taking her. I made her a little care package of baby wipes, socks, underwear, snacks. And I made her a little plate. And I drove her back out to the woods where she was living and dropped her off. And she thanked me. And she was high when she came. I just said, don't bring drugs to my house. That was my only rule. I knew she would need to use something to be able probably to get through. It was the best holiday I think we've had as a family. And when I made this shift, it was not to get her sober. I had just kind of decided she's going to die from this. And I want to have time with her. She came home 2 weeks later, and she's been sober 1.5 years.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. How did she get? She didn't even go away. You said this time, isn't it ironic how that all works?
Yeah,
she was ready. She was seen.
She was seen.
And she was loved.
And she was loved at her lowest.
She didn't even need rehab to get sober this time.
No. The
irony. That's a beautiful story.
It is. And it's, I learned that when she came home, I was shocked because, like I said, I wasn't doing it thinking she was going to get sober. I'm like, she's not, and, but I love her and I'm just going to spend time with her any way I can. And she came home. I got her on, she ended up getting on Suboxone and an appropriate dose because what I found out before, they were dosing her way too low. And for her use, she needed a way higher dose. She didn't go to detox. But I'm a medical professional. I deal with withdrawal. So I would know if there was something I needed to look for. And people don't need inpatient when they're coming off of fentanyl.
Yeah.
And so I told her, I said, you can come home. I said, I'm not going to make you go to rehab. I said, do you want to get on MAT? And she's like, yes. And that's what we did. And now she's on Sublocade. She's been on Sublocade for about She's about to get her 5th shot.
What's the difference between Suboxone and
Tex or
what is
Sublocade?
it? Sublocade.
So Suboxone is you take it daily, twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day.
Because I would get high when I would take it.
Yeah, no. And so how long were you on it?
Well, I don't think I was using the correct dose, and I really don't remember how. I mean, this was one of my 100 attempts to get sober, and
yeah, no. And so I hear that from a lot of families, and I've seen it. It's very like kind of shocking because you're like, is this a Suboxone? Because you look high, like she, the eyes, and just like she's gonna nod out as they kind of adjust to it. But usually that lasted at the most for her, maybe a week or 2. And she doesn't look high at all on it. But Sublocade, it's a monthly injection. It's the same thing. It just doesn't have the naloxone in it. So it's a monthly injection that they give into the subcutaneous fat, and it's long acting. So what it is, I really think these meds, like Brixadi is another form of that.
What about Vivitrol?
Vivitrol is technically not a part of the gold standard treatment. It doesn't mean it doesn't work, because I've heard it's worked for a lot of people. Did it work for you?
Yeah, I did it my first 6 months.
It took the cravings away?
Yeah, it felt great.
And that's good.
It basically, but you have to work a program, because once you get off it.
That's it.
Yeah.
But you don't become dependent on Vivitrol. So you don't go through withdrawal when you get off of it.
It was nothing. I didn't feel, it was not a mood or a mind altering substance or experience for me.
Yeah, no. And so I wasn't against Vivitrol. I don't think it would have worked for her. And so when I had found out about Sublocade, and I was like, wow, it's a monthly injection. It would take the ritualistic dosing away that you get in the habit of feeling like you have to take something every day. And, but it's so unaffordable. And you have to fight with insurance. And that's the problem. People talk about abusing like Suboxone. If people want to abuse something, they're going to.
Yeah.
But the thing is that if you're that concerned, make these drugs more affordable and accessible. But that's not how our health care system works in this country. And I actually just wrote something on my Substack about this very thing yesterday. And it's unfortunate, because what it also does, it helps people get off of subs.
Got it.
Because it kind of builds up in your system. It's like a bead.
It's a half-life.
Yeah, it's a half-life. So a lot of people, they'll get like about 3 to 4 injections. They never go back. And their body, like over a year, weans them off naturally, slowly.
Interesting.
They'll still test positive almost a year later on a UA, but they don't go through withdrawal. A lot of them. Yeah.
Wow.
Or it's very mild.
So can you take us through what is life like today, the relationship with your daughter today?
Yeah. Crazy enough, you finally get your daughter to come home and get sober. And a month later, you find out that she got pregnant like 2 weeks after coming home to get sober. She wasn't pregnant when she came home, but she got pregnant. And here I am. We had custody of our grandson,
Miles.
Yeah, and so we had custody of him, and now she's going to have another one, and she's newly sober. It brought a lot of fear and emotions.
Us
and anger.
Kids know how to put our parents through shit, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like I the thing is I don't think I've ever said fuck so much in my life except for this. Like loving someone through addiction, you can't help but be like, what the fuck? But it's so my husband and I were not happy, and so things were a little rocky, but she still stayed sober. She stayed on her Subutex throughout her pregnancy. And because that's what they encouraged her to do, because they don't want her to go through withdrawal, and then the baby, it can be harmful to the baby. And in our relationship, it wasn't easy. When they get, I can't help but say that, like, families need to understand, when they really find recovery, the real work begins. Because if you have not worked on the cracks in the foundation, because they're going to show. Because now you have two sober people who don't know how to cope very well. So unless you've done work to learn how to cope with your own trauma as a family member, you have to be the more responsible one and kind of have more control than the person whose brain is still healing. And that's what, instead of me getting sucked into what would turn into a huge fight, I had to try to stay more reserved. Away. And I really, that was a big learning process for me, but it worked. And she saw that. And so it really kept things, they wouldn't blow up as significant. And then
she had the kid?
She did, and she almost died.
What?
Yeah, this, like, seriously, like, she ended up, I was terrified of that because I'm like, she had to have a C-section because her first one was. And so I was nervous about that because I'm like, they're going to give her a narcotic. I'm like, is this going to trigger it? Because she made it through this pregnancy now. And of course, she's delivering emergently when Hurricane Milton's hitting. And so.
And you're on the West Coast.
Yeah. Yep.
You were right in that.
And I was supposed to be working in that hospital because she delivered where I work. And she ended up, I'm like, something's off. Like, I'm looking at her, and because I do critical care. And so I'm like, and it wasn't obvious. And I'm like, something's not right. Because she was like not wanting to really have anything to do with the baby. And she was saying her pain was uncontrollable. And people are just like, oh, well, it's because she's seeking. That's kind of, and I even wondered, like, I'm like, is this because they gave her a Percocet? But I'm like, she's still on subs. That Percocet shouldn't be doing anything. And now she was bleeding in her abdominal wall. And it was when I lost my shit and I demanded that they do some labs that she was hemorrhaging. She probably would have died if I hadn't have been there.
Oh my God.
And
she's okay now? Mm-hmm. She's healthy now? The baby's healthy?
Baby's healthy. Baby's going to turn a year old in October. And,
amazing.
And she's an amazing mom.
And Miles is back in her life?
Yeah. No, because they all live with me. Everyone lives with me.
Great.
So it's, but yeah, no. And so really we're at such a great place.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's been a beautiful thing. And just sharing that and sharing what I've learned, it's the fact that, you talk about the community. I have had people like the whole meet them where they are and just sharing, just love them, have boundaries, but love them, meet them, spend time with them. When you get a message, and I've had so many of these, is that they lost their child to an overdose. And then they're thanking me because they'll say, because of you and what you've shared, I actually reached out to my child a few months ago and I started having a meal with them and spending time with them. And they're like, I really don't have any regret because they knew that their child knew they were loved, even though they lost their life. That is a very weird feeling. Like, and you realize, wow, families, you're so isolated.
It's like almost you accepted it. You aren't fighting it anymore. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like the people who reached out to you, they followed suit. It's like you don't want to accept that your son or daughter is an addict or an alcoholic. And I'm not saying you were denying it to yourself, but it's like almost accepting it and then just showing them pure love.
It is. And I say that's the hardest thing when I tell families. The hardest part is accepting that you can't fix them. You can't love it. You can't love it out of them. You can't bribe them. You can't beg and plead them to find recovery. They're not gonna do it on your timeline. They're gonna do it on theirs. Mm-hmm. And so that when I really just kind of was like, screw this, I'm doing what I can live with. And I started doing that and really living still, trying to laugh and kind of reconnect with my inner child. Everything kind of fell into place. And I found, which seems impossible, peace. Even with her in active addiction. And you can see it on the videos. I found true peace. And that's what I try to say to families. That's what I talk about. I'm like, you can be in this horrible situation and still find peace.
So you documented your whole experience, your method and your way about, helping your daughter and showing her love, just the whole process. You wrote a book about it.
I did.
Can you tell us what the book is called and where can people find it?
Yeah. So Do What You Can Live With. It's a survival guide for families navigating addiction, grief, and impossible choices. And this is available paperback on Amazon. And you can search the name Do What You Can Live With Brandi Mac, and it'll come up. And there's also digital. It's on my website also, which is brandymac.com.
And that's Brandy with an I.
With an I, yes.
Yep.
And it's, this book, it's over 300 pages. And it's not just our story. That'll be a different time, like an autobiography. It's pieces of our story with what I have learned. And with reflection points in the book, there's journaling opportunities. And one of the things I did, it came to me right before when I completed the script, was there's QR codes at the end of every chapter. And when you scan it, it takes you to my website that has videos throughout my journey over the last 5 years that correlate with that chapter. So you can go and see where I was, how I looked.
I love that.
Yeah. It shows. So you get to see where I was at that time in real time.
Like you have a video, like when you shaved your head?
Yeah.
And there's a QR code for that? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's wild. Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for coming on, taking the drive, sharing your story, the vulnerability. There are a lot of parents out there who don't know what to do. They're in this situation. My parents didn't know what to do when they heard and found out that I had a problem. So it's a family disease and we all go through it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you sharing your experience so that family members know that they're not alone and that there is, if you want to call it a solution, but maybe just a different perspective about going about things.
It is. All path to recovery is what matters. It's that no one family story is going to look like someone else's. And that is what I try to say to families and what I focus on in this book. Your boundaries are going to be different than my boundaries. And it doesn't tell people how to do things, but it helps you think about what you need to do for you.
Well, thank you again.